Why did Link need to sleep for 7 years to use the Master Sword? In every Zelda game, Link needs to get the Master Sword or some other sword like the Force Sword in order to defeat Ganon or someone evil like Ganon. And in most of the games, you work up to getting it by beating dungeons or temples, and then you finally obtain that special sword. In Ocarina of Time, it's no different. Well, it's slightly different. As Zelda fans know, in Ocarina of Time, when you pull the Master Sword out of the Temple of Time, Link goes to sleep for 7 years. If you want to be more technical, he gets sealed away for 7 years. You know what I mean. The reason for this is explained, but to me it never made any sense. The reason is that Child Link wasn't strong enough and old enough to wield the Master Sword, which is fair enough, but I have complaints about this reason because it's inconsistent with the other games. There's a few Zelda games where you play as Child Link, and in these games, you're able to pull out the Master Sword without having to be an adult or grow stronger. You just already have the ability to wield it. Take Wind Waker, for example. You play as Toon Link, who is obviously a child, and yet you're able to use the Master Sword without having to be an adult. If you count other special swords like the Force Sword and not just the Master Sword, you're also able to use it as a child because in the Minish Cap you use it to defeat Vaati. Now, I will say that there's probably some arguments you can make for these inconsistencies, and I'll talk about those too. One argument you can make is that it's just the art style of Wind Waker and the Minish Cap because of how cartoony it is. What I mean by this is, even though Link looks really young because of his design, maybe he's actually a little older than we think. Except that's actually wrong, because according to the internet, Link is 12 years old in Wind Waker, and in Ocarina of Time, it's said that you need to be at least 16 to use the Master Sword. So how is it that Link is able to use it in Wind Waker despite only being 12? And if he looks the exact same in the Minish Cap, then he's most likely 12 in that game too. And that means you can be a 12-year-old and use the Force Sword as well. So what makes it possible for a kid to use the Master Sword? Well, I have one theory that might make more sense. I also want to add another thing real quick that makes no sense to me since I'm already talking about plot holes or whatever, and then I'll get to my theory. What was the point in going forward in time to defeat Ganondorf if they were already capable of beating him in the present without the Master Sword? Because at the end of the game, when you defeat Ganondorf, you get sent back in time to live out your childhood, and they arrest Ganondorf, and boom, he's not a threat anymore. Why not just do that from the start? There was no point in going inside the Temple of Time and using the Master Sword. I don't know. Maybe there's a clear answer for this, and I just haven't found it yet. Anyway, back to my theory about why Link is able to use the Master Sword as a kid in other games. My personal theory is that the sword changes over time and adapts to the wielder. Basically, it gets itself ready for the next Link of that generation. The reason the Master Sword didn't adapt for Child Link and only worked for Adult Link is maybe because Link went to draw it out too soon and didn't know that he wasn't ready for it. Maybe in the other games like Wind Waker, Link just happened to pull out the sword at the exact time that the sword was ready for him. And in Ocarina, it just wasn't the right time, so he had no choice but to sleep. In conclusion, there's no clear answer as to why the sword wasn't ready to be used by Link until he was 16, but these are just a couple of reasons I think it wasn't ready for him. If anyone has a better theory, or if they actually know the real facts, then let me know in the comments what it is, because I do really want to know. I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts on this, and if you want to see more of my videos, then please subscribe and hit that like button. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.